welcome everyone. Thank you very much for dialing in. Now it's 3 p.m. and supposedly we will be starting shortly. Okay, but now we still have people registering in and dialing in. So if you guys don't mind, we will begin very shortly, probably in 3 minutes. Okay, so thank you very much for dialing in early to the rest of you. And please do grab a cup of coffee or tea and have it by your side because today's session is expected to last around 2 hours. All right, so from 3 until 5. And we have, as you can see from the poster here, we have two guest speakers and also one speaker from SHRDC or Malaysian Smart Factory. Okay, so we are expecting more people coming in. So please, we appreciate you, your time, okay? And please wait for a little bit before we can begin shortly. Also, meanwhile, we are waiting for the rest to join in. Do let us know where you guys are dialing in from, which city or country, because I'm sure, I think from the registrants, attendees or the list, I can see that there were, it's not only restricted to Malaysians, okay, because that's where we are from. We are from Malaysia. So do let us know where you guys are coming from. I see. Thank you, Amira, for your response. I hope you are well and safe over there. Nice to have you here on board with us. All right, so it is, okay, that's great, Gary. Okay, now it is 3:05, so I will just start now since we have, it's already past 5 minutes after 3. Okay, so welcome again, everyone. Thank you very much for dialing in. Once again, my name is Marissa. I will be the moderator or MC, but I won't be doing that much. Honestly, I will just invite our guest speakers over and they will do the rest of the part for today. All right, for today's session. So before we begin for today's session, I do expect everyone to read these housekeeping rules. This is a very standard and basic housekeeping rules that we hope you guys will abide. Okay, so the expected duration for today's session will last around 2 hours from 3 until 5. So if you guys have any Q&A session, please utilize the chat box because we will have a Q&A session towards the end of the presentation after everyone is done with their part. Okay, and please ensure that your mic is muted so that our speakers will not be interrupted during the presentation. And throughout this session today, there will be some poll questions projected on your screen. So we expect everyone to be to participate and be cooperative by answering the poll questions. All right. Okay, and please bear in mind that this session is recorded and this video will be available to be watched on YouTube once the event ended. All right. Okay, so our guest speakers for today, we have a representative from Skymind Education Group as well as ViTrox. So the first guest speaker I will introduce is David Ooi and Gary Leong. He is currently the AI instructor and AI engineer from Skymind Education Group. All right, and also Gary Leong, he is the Director of Industry 4.0 and Ecosystem Development from ViTrox. Okay, before I can properly invite our first guest speaker to the floor, David, and there is a greeting video from the Pi and AI greeting video. So Pi and AI or DeepLearning.AI is the host or the community that we are using for today's session. So this is actually our first time to use this platform. So it is very interesting and exciting for us. So please, this video will take around 3 to 4 minutes. So please enjoy this video from Andrew Ng, the founder of Deep Learning.
Hello, deep learners. I'm Andrew, founder of DeepLearning.AI, and I'm excited to welcome you to our global deep learning community. I know that many of you are here today because you want to break into AI and build your career. I hope that being part of this community will help you to do so. To give you a proper welcome, I'd like to show you around the DeepLearning.AI offices and meet some of the teams so that you can see where it all happens.
Oh, hi, Andrew.
Do you want to tell our friends at Pi and AI what you do at DeepLearning.AI?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I make articles and other media that help people learn about AI and help them understand the huge impact that AI is having in the world. Today, I'm putting together the next issue of The Batch, our weekly newsletter, and I'm looking for the biggest stories of the week to keep our readers informed.
What's been the most surprising thing you've run into working on The Batch?
How much is going on in this field? There is never a dull moment. You know, you might think from the outside that machine learning engineers really understand everything about AI, but nobody understands everything about AI because this field is just coming to life right before my eyes as I put this thing together every week.
All right, I know you're really busy, so let's you get back to it.
Thanks. See you later.
Let's go meet Kian, who helped me create the deep learning specialization. He's working on an exciting new project. Hey Kian, so do you want to tell the people at Pi and AI what you're working on?
Yes, sure. I'm leading a project called Workera, focusing on helping people get offers in AI and navigating their career by testing their skills, preparing for interviews and certifying them, as well as matching and referring them to good jobs in AI.
That's really cool. And what's the most exciting part of your day?
You know, the AI field is new, organizations and jobs are still misunderstood. So I'm excited to help people understand what different types of jobs exist in the field, what tasks they will work on, and what skills are needed to achieve those tasks.
That's really important work. Well, it's nice chatting. And now let's go chat to Hotel, who is on their product team.
Hey, Andrew.
Do you want to say hi to our friends at Pi and AI and let them know what you're working on?
I would love to. Hi, everyone. I lead the product team in DeepLearning.AI, where we create AI education content accessible to people all around the world. People like you.
And what are you most excited about right now?
I am so excited to see our community grow and to see how eager people are to learn more about AI.
Thanks, also.
Thanks, Andrew.
So, as you can see, our team is working hard to support you and help you learn. It's never been easier than before to break into AI. So if you want to build a career, you can leverage online resources available, including open source code, datasets, papers, and online courses like a deep learning specialization on Coursera. As part of this journey, I hope you get your hands dirty too. Don't be afraid of diving in to build your own project, or go ahead and try to replicate a research paper that you're excited about. One thing that I've seen help a lot of people succeed is if you can build a community or find a community of fellow deep learners you can meet with and study with on a regular basis. That this Pioneer meetup that you're at right now will be a good place for you to meet these people. I hope you enjoyed the event today and that you learn a lot, both from the talks and from each other. And once again, welcome to the DeepLearning.AI community.
All right, so that is it from Andrew Ng, the founder of DeepLearning.AI. So that's an introduction on DeepLearning.AI community. And so without further ado, I will now introduce our first guest speaker from Skymind Education Group, David Ooi and Gary Leong. He is currently the AI instructor and AI engineer. So David today will be covering on the topic, closing the industrial gap with AI applications. And so this is a speaker profile of David. So he has an experience in building and training deep learning models using TensorFlow for similar music recognition and retrieval during his final year project in University Kebangsaan Malaysia. So as a believer of lifelong learning, he continues the journey to crack the mystery surrounding the theory of intelligence. So this young man is a graduate from UKM, University Kebangsaan Malaysia, in computer science, data science, and he has an experience in data scientist at Western Digital Sandy Storage Berhad Batu Kawan. And his current project or event at Skymind includes AI instructor and content creator for Penjana UTM, and also lead revision session for Penjana USM or UM. Okay, so I will just stop sharing my screen for it.
All right, let's start with a video. You can see my screen.
Hello, my name is Ida, or Artificial Intelligence Digital Assistant. I have been around for quite a while, only you did not realize it. Artificial intelligence is all around us. It is impacting the future of every human being, the way we do business, and is transforming the world around us. I am your healer. I detect, provide insights, and support medical professionals. I am your teacher. I make learning and studying more convenient and personalized. I am your manager. I speed up processes through automations and simulations. I am your assistant. I supercharge your support and make processes easy. I am an analyzer. I handle complex data and concepts and simplify them for all. I am your guardian. I watch over you and keep you and your family safe. But I can't do all of those on my own. Artificial intelligence works when I am powered by intelligent minds. I will be successful when you train me to predict and react correctly. At Skymind, we believe the AI will revolutionize the world we live in today. Are you ready to be a part of it? Hello.
Okay, all right. So hello everyone, my name is David Ooi. I am currently an AI instructor at Skymind. I help create and develop AI content for the training courses. I graduated from UKM, University Kebangsaan Malaysia, with a Bachelor of Computer Science, and I majored in data science. So I have experience working as a data scientist at Western Digital. And Some of my personal interests includes researching some of the state-of-the-art AI models and its algorithms. Sometimes I like to play around with embedded electronics like Arduinos or single board computers like Raspberry Pi. So essentially anything related to technology is my cup of tea. So that's a very quick introduction about myself, and let's move on to the next slide. So this will be the content outline for my presentation today. Yeah, I'll be talking about some introduction to projects, to some of the projects that's been done in Skymind, and some use cases of AI in Malaysia, and then some state-of-the-art AI models in the global stage, and also the future outlook in Malaysia. All right, so now some introduction to the projects done in Skymind. But before that, we need to introduce what Skymind is about. Well, Skymind is an AI ecosystem builder. We work with like 350 plus Fortune 500 companies and 20 plus governments across the world. So particularly in the US, in UK, in China, in Japan, Singapore, Malaysia, and many other countries as well. So if you have ever heard about the Eclipse Deep Learning for Java, right, then you would have interacted with one of our products before. So because Skymind is the creator of DL4J open source AI framework. Well, DL4J, Deep Learning for Java, it's a deep learning framework for the Java language, so which is similar and related to TensorFlow or PyTorch, but it's created for Java. So DL4J is deployed and used by quite a number of our partners. And of course, we don't just provide the library, we actually collaborate with our partners to turn their project into reality. So if you're into Java, if you're using Java right now and you want to create AI or deep learning related projects, then DL4J might be worth considering for whatever project that you might want to try out. Yeah. So to talk a little bit more about DL4J, so DL4J is an open source project. It is currently hosted in Eclipse Foundation, which DL4J is still largely maintained by Skymind. You can find the source code for the DL4J library in GitHub as well. So DL4J works on any Windows or Linux or Mac computers. It supports computers with multiple GPUs, right? It supports deployment into Android devices running API level 21 and above. It works with Android Studio 3.0 and above, and it also supports Java 7 and a subset of Java 8 language features. So usually Android devices are not standardized, right? So the hardware, the GPUs within the phones are usually quite different for different phone models. So it is possible to train your ML model in your phone directly using DL4J, but just don't expect to train large models in your phone because the RAM is limited. But inferencing is generally possible if the model is not too large. So, and besides that, DL4J also supports deployment on Apache Spark. So if you want to do distributed computation in a cluster. So yeah, it's an interesting tool created by Skymind. So do check it out. And so that's a very quick one on DL4J. So let's move on. Well, in terms of our footprint in the globe, Skymind is a company that has a global presence. We are in multiple different countries, but in its early stages, Skymind focuses solely on developing the DL4J library, which was started in the US, and eventually, after some reorganization, Skymind expanded its office into UK, into Europe, into Asia. Yeah, and from there on, we started to diversify our portfolios. So we don't just maintain the DL4J library, we do other projects as well. So currently, we have multiple offices around the globe, notably the ones in the US, in the UK, in China, in Japan, and Malaysia. Since I'm in Malaysia right now, I'll talk more about our office in Malaysia. So currently, we have one office in Penang, another at KL, and soon we'll have another one in Johor, which is related to the Skymind Future Cities project. So that's where Skymind is located around the globe. We have offices in multiple different countries. We do all kinds of projects in those different countries, and we collaborate between them, between those different offices as well. So essentially, Skymind's main business activity focuses on these 4 pillars. So firstly, we have an open source AI platform like the DL4J library, like I mentioned before. We also help companies adopt AI into their business. We collaborate some kind like a kind of partnership with other businesses to help them improve their business functions. And thirdly, we also help with development of AI talents. We do that by conducting our own training courses, certifications, but we also provide these courses to universities and to the industry. We help groom the next generation of AI talents. So lastly, we also help potential AI companies grow through joint ventures. So we do joint ventures with potential startups. So we provide expertise to help them deploy their solutions. So yeah, so these are like overview of what we do in Skymind. So yeah, so there are many projects that Skymind have with its partners. So these are some of our global customers that I can put on the screen. Just to give you some idea on what kind of projects we do, we are involved in projects such as developing AI accelerated chips and hardware. We collaborate with different partners like Huawei, NVIDIA, NEC, Japan, Intel, and to develop hardware accelerated chips for AI applications. So other than that, we also work with other space agencies as well. We don't build the rocket, right? We don't build the satellite, but we build the software part of it. So example, right, we have built a weather forecast system for Germany's space agency. Yeah, so the weather forecast is critical for rocket launch because you can't launch a rocket when the weather is not in an acceptable range. So that's one use case. And with China's and Japan's space agency, it's more towards analytics, like analyzing satellite images and so on. And I believe one of the Skymind office in US, one of their project was collaborating with Apple, the smartphone maker, to help them develop some of their back-end AI systems. So those of you who use iPhone 6 and above, there is a chance that you have used features that was co-developed by Skymind with Apple. So yeah, there's a lot of projects that we did. So I'm not going to cover all of them. So I'll just focus on just a few of the most recent one. So yeah, let's start with ExcelAI. So Excel Health, like the company name is Excel Health. It's one of Skymind's portfolio companies. Remember, we do joint ventures and all that, right? So yeah, it's one of our portfolio company. They were in charge of creating ExcelAI, which is a software tool, this one, right, to help with rapid diagnosis of COVID infections in the lungs using CT scan results. So it's a joint venture. It's a joint development project led by the Shanghai Research Center for Brain Science, Brain-Inspired Intelligence, United Imaging Intelligence, and Skymind Neurobionics Research. So yeah, it's a collaboration between multiple parties. So ExcelAI, the software itself, it's built using Java, including the back-end services, which runs either on a local server or on a cloud server. So that's where the AI model is hosted. And the AI model used there, it's trained using the DL4J library. So it's built with DL4J. So essentially, the model is built with DL4J. It's deployed to a server with Apache Spark. So if you have a cluster, right? So I mentioned that DL4J is compatible with Apache Spark. So yeah, that's used here. And the AI model is hosted on Apache Spark. So for the front end, right, for the user interface, it's basically a combination of Java and web-based interface. So it's kind of like Jupyter Notebook, right? You have a web interface. So the back-end services are hosted in a cloud server. So all the hardware, the GPU, the database is in the server. And in the front end, the user interface, it's served with a web-based interface. So it makes it easier for doctors to perform this CT scan and analyzing of the result, because you don't have high-end computers just laying around in the hospital. There's a centralized server. Yeah. So like I mentioned, ExcelAI is a software tool for rapid diagnosis of COVID infection in the lungs using the CT scan. So it was developed by Skymind, like with the collaboration with Shanghai Research Centers and some others, right? And it was developed during the COVID pandemic, right? When COVID was first noticed in the world. So ExcelAI was actually deployed and used in the Wuhan hospital, in the Hoshan hospital and the Leishan hospital. So I'm sure everyone should have already known about this, like the Hoshan hospital and Leishan hospital. It was a temporary hospital that was built right, from a piece of empty land. Starting from an empty piece of land into a fully operational hospital, equipped with all the negative pressurized rooms, the HEPA filters, with water, electricity, sanitization, and all the ICU equipment. So all that from an empty piece of land in just 10 days. So yeah, I'm sure everyone heard about that before. So that shows you how important time is, right? When we are battling with COVID, every minute, every hour is very important. It counts to slow down the stop. So basically, rapid diagnosis, right, is the key point of ExcelAI. So that's the key point of this software, because the time is very valuable for a hospital that have to diagnose over 6,000 patients. So time is a resource that has to be spent wisely. So ExcelAI, it speeds up the diagnosis process because there are like thousands of patients that need to be examined. And to add on top of that, the CT scans are usually taken very frequently, about once every 3 to 5 days, so that the doctors can monitor the progression of the viral infection inside the lungs. So you can imagine how many CT scans they need to analyze. So this tool essentially automates the analysis of the CT scan images to within just 10 seconds. Instead of, if it's manual inspection, it will have to take probably around 15 seconds or even a little bit more than that. So yeah, it's all about time. It's about making things quicker. Okay, so other than that, right, so this tool, it also gives the doctor a quantitative view of the lung trauma the trauma happening inside the patient's lung. So why is that important, right? So the patients have COVID. Why would it matter to give more quantitative views? Or why would it like highlighting where is the infection, how big it is? Or why do we need to know how big it is, right? What's the difference? What difference does it make? Well, so if the doctors were able to see the progression of the infection, it can actually help them decide whether a patient requires ventilators or ICU beds or not. So it helps them allocate resources to the patients that actually needed it, instead of giving it to someone who might not really need it as much. So because these resources are very expensive, so you can't possibly give it to everyone. So yeah, so any delay, any mistakes can mean life or death here. So being able to view the condition of the lungs quantitatively, like exactly how big the volume is, the area of infection, it also helps track, right, if a particular treatment strategy is working for a particular patient. So all this increases the patient's chance of survival. So yeah, so this is just one of the tools that I can talk about. There's actually a lot more, but because of time constraint, we just have to continue. So I'll continue with the next section, the next part. I'm going to talk about some of the use cases of AI in Malaysia in general. So in Malaysia, there's actually the semiconductor industry in Malaysia. It's actually quite a few of them. So usually those semiconductor industry, typically the ones in Malaysia, typically they deal with testing and wire bonding of multiple memory chips together. So you can see there's a lot of different chips on this wafer. So usually they what they do is they wire bond them. They bond multiple chips together to make make a product that has a larger capacity. And when you wire bond, right, when you bond multiple of these chips together to make a drive, they don't always work as expected after you join them together. So even though when you test these these chips individually, they pass the test, they pass the threshold, but when you combine them, somehow they fail. So that's the interesting part. The keyword here is incompatible. So there's some incompatibility going on. So yeah. So just to solidify this idea, right, let's think of a very simple example. So let's say you have 3 different chips. You have chip number A, number B, number C, right? When you combine chip A and B together, it's fine. When you combine A and C together, it's fine. But when you combine B and C together, suddenly it fails. So A and B is fine, A and C is fine, but B and C is not fine. So technically speaking, they all are passing chips. Individually, they are all passing chips. But when you combine them, they fail. So yeah, that's the compatibility issue. So this kind of issue is actually very difficult for humans to spot. So you have to perform tests. Usually when we do tests on this chip, we do thousands of different tests. And that means your data set will have thousands of different columns, thousands of different features that you need to examine. So it's virtually impossible for a human to spot, the problem manually by hand. So yeah, it's almost impossible to know which features are responsible for the failures when you merge incompatible dies together. And you can't spend too much time on this because usually you will have to launch new products maybe every half a year or every year, right? You have to keep up with the new product launches. So you can't spend too much time trying to diagnose this. And yeah, and one of the biggest problem is that once you wire bond, right? Once you take this chip and you bond them together, you can't separate them anymore, because trying to separate them and trying to bond them back together, it's almost impossible, because you have to realign them. The alignment and all that, it's almost impossible. So once you made a mistake, it's done. So the whole point of data science, right, is to catch, right? You want to catch the incompatible chips early so that you don't bond them. Because once you bond them, you can't separate them anymore. So yeah, so that's the kind of technology that semiconductor fabricators need to improve the yield, to improve the quality of their product. So yeah, this is actually something that's happening in Malaysia right now. Yeah, so that's the use case of AI in semiconductor industry in Malaysia. So if we move on. So for the retail industry in Malaysia, right? So, online shopping phenomenon that is happening, I would say it's rather explosively in the recent years in Malaysia. So probably due to the travel restrictions, right? Everyone is purchasing items online. So these retailers, these e-commerce or online shopping platforms, as a retailer, right, the whole point is to sell the product to the customer that needed it, whether they need it or they want it, right? So there are many sellers, all of them have their own items to sell, and there are many customers, all of them have their own needs. So how do you match, right, the right product to the right customer? Because sometimes a buyer, they don't even know that something exists. They don't even know the name of the item that they actually need, right? So so in the retail space, most of the work here is to present the right type of a product to the right customer, because you can't show them everything, there'll be too much. So, but you also need to keep some kind of balance, right? You can't just keep showing them the things that they want. You need to add some random items in there, right? You need to add something that's different, a little bit more random, something that's from a different opposite spectrum. Because otherwise, if you keep showing the user what they want, it just becomes an echo chamber. So it's a delicate process, how to recommend the right type of item to the user. And of course, without the need of me telling you, all this item matching, right? It can't be done manually by a human. It has to be automated in a way because there's so many requests happening every day. So traditionally, search results, right? Search results traditionally they are done by word matching. So you type in something in the search bar, and then it returns the product that have the same name. But like I said before, sometimes the customer, they don't know what they want. They don't even know the name of the product. They are just, sometimes they come to search for a solution for a problem that they don't even know whether the product exists. They're just trying to find something that might help them. So the keywords that people use might be random. It might be somewhat related to the things that they're looking for, but sometimes it is unexpected. Right? There are some unexpected keywords that people are actually using. So this is where a mixture, right, of a traditional word matching approach, right, in the search bar, just match if there's a right, if they are using the right word, then you return that product. So that's a traditional approach, and usually you have to combine that with some AI recommendation. So of course, you can't just generate result purely on AI recommendation, right? Because like I mentioned before, you need a blend of the targeted items that the user want, the related items that the user might potentially want, some of the random items that the user might have a chance to explore on, and also some of the items from the opposite spectrum, right? Just to give some contrast, some choices for the user to explore. So this all prevents an echo chamber for the user. So yeah. So in the retail industry, it's usually trying to match the right items to the right customer using a mixture of traditional and AI approach. So usually how it's done, how AI is used here, it's basically the AI model. It observes the browsing pattern, like the browsing pattern of the user. It tries to determine what kind of product interests the user more, and like what kind of product interests the user more. And the AI model attempt to build some kind of a profile. And when there's many users on the platform, there'll be a large collection of different profiles, and they'll group these profiles together, right? So determine like what kind of product this particular group of people like, what kind of product that the other group of particular people like. So sometimes when you're doing online purchasing, you'll see in your recommendation, you'll say that other people who buy this also buy that, right? So that's due to that profiling, grouping of different customers. So you are being grouped with another group of people. So that's why it recommends you this product, because the algorithm thinks you might be interested because you share common interests with a different group. So yeah. So essentially, it's a product recommendation. It's a combination of multiple algorithms. Each is balanced, is in a perfect way, right, to deliver the perfect mixture. All right, so that's the overview of a use case of AI in the retail industry in Malaysia. So up until this point, right, we've talked about the projects, the use cases of AI in Skymind. We've talked about the use cases of AI in Malaysia, like the retails in the semiconductor spaces. And now we would like to talk about some of the state-of-the-art AI models that exist out there. So there's quite a lot of them, but I'll just mention just a few because, of course, of time constraint as well. So this will be the state-of-the-art AI model in the global stage. So now it's in the global stage. So yeah, the first thing that I'm going to bring up is the natural language processing. So there are actually many different kinds of NLP architectures. Like some of them focuses on translation, language translation. Some of them focuses on voice recognition. Some of them on voice synthesis, right? But essentially, NLP, it deals with the understanding of human language in whatever form it is, right? Whether it's speech or text or sound. So, but for today, I'll mainly focus on text generation, specifically on GPTJ. GPTJ, yeah, so this is where GPTJ is hosted. It's on this website here, and you can test this out for yourself for free. So I'll be showing you a demo. So let me run my browser. Okay. Yeah, it's still showing. So yeah. So this is the website that I just showed you, the GPTJ model. So like I mentioned before, right, this is a GPTJ, and it's actually a smaller version of GPT-3. So if you guys have heard about GPT-3, this is a smaller version of it. It's based on a transformer model for natural language processing. It tries to predict the next possible word and sentence. Essentially, it acts like a text autocomplete. Right? It extends what you wrote in the text box. So you write something here, and then it tries to extend it. It tries to predict what will happen next. So it's an autocomplete. So maybe I can show you a quick example, right? So it's basically a very simple story. So yeah, open the door. I'm sorry, I can't do that. What's the problem? So there's a reference there, if anyone caught it. But yeah, interesting. And yeah, so this is the story that I gave the model, and this is the result, what the model thinks. So yeah, so it continues the story in a very interesting way. Sometimes it's a little bit funny. So yeah, you can read this, but I'll move on. So so as you can see here, right? So we get some replies. So so sometimes they do make mistake because GPTJ is a slightly smaller model. So sometimes it does make some weird mistake, but it's still quite useful, right? So let's take a look. Let's take a look at another example. So let's say we want to create a sentiment analysis model, right? Let's say you have a customer review of a product, and you want to know whether the review is positive or negative or not, right? So how do you use GPTJ to give you a sentiment score, right? So GPTJ it only auto completes your text, right? It just auto completes. It added more text over here. So, but if you want to do sentiment analysis, you need a score. You need some kind of score. So how do you do it? So usually, right, the correct way to do it is to modify parts of the model. Right? You want to fine-tune parts of the pre-trained model. Like this GPTJ is pre-trained. You want to modify it. So it's actually a little bit complicated. So is there a way to perform sentiment analysis without changing the model? Is there an easy hack, so to speak, right? Is there an easy way to hack it to make it happen? So, so for example, right, let's say I have this review, right? You can read it. It's actually quite negative. So yeah, so you can see this particular review is actually rather negative, right? So you can see I put positive things here, right? Wow, this product is so incredible, right? It's a brilliant idea. But all that, right? All that is flipped around because in this part of the sentence, it says that all the money spent is just wasted. So yeah, if you notice, right, the string here, it primes the model. It completely flips the meaning of the sentence around. So if we try to do sentiment analysis, right, if we just run the model, it's just going to continue. It's just going to continue the user review. So yeah, so how do we do that? How do we hack it? So actually, there's a very simple way to do that. So let's try this. So this is the user review. I'm gonna add on a small string behind. So with a rating from 1 to lowest to 10 highest, I will give this thing a. Yeah. So if you notice, like this particular string here, right? It primes the model. It guides the model to output the value of a score that we want. So basically, we have a user review at the front and the hack at the back to guide the model to produce a sentiment score. So yeah. Okay, so let's try to run. Let's see what the model thinks, right? So yeah, it might take just a little bit. Okay, yeah, sometimes they do give weird results. Let's run it again. So you have to run it multiple times. Like I say, GPTJ, it's not a perfect model, but it does have some interesting use case here. Okay. So not what I'm expecting is giving a rating of 10. So I mean, yeah, the product, there is some words used here that throws the model, throws off the model. Let's run it again. Let's see what we can get. So it's interesting. You guys can try this at home actually. So, okay, a 7. Very interesting. So I got a very different result before this, right? Before I tested here, I actually get a low score, but I'm not sure why. So there's something happening with the model today. Yeah, the mood is not right or something. I don't know. Yeah. So this is some demo that I can show you guys. So you can try this at home at your own time. It's very interesting. So yeah, you can find this in this website over here. But do keep in mind that this service is provided to everyone for free. So yeah, do use it responsibly. Don't abuse it, so to speak. Okay, so next up, let's take a look at another revolutionary state-of-the-art algorithm that's in the computational biology side of things. So which is protein folding. So maybe the first thing first, right? So what is a protein? So a protein's here. So basically everything that happens inside a human body, right? It's governed by proteins. So all the neurochemical signaling, the hormones inside your body, your immune system, they all use the proteins. So essentially your body is made of proteins. And because of that, doctors could, they could use, they can design special proteins to target specific part of your body to treat certain diseases, and it can be used as a medicine. So understanding the shape and functions of a protein is vital in many medical research field. So scientists can actually synthesize proteins, right? That's how the COVID vaccine is synthesized, right? They generate those. It's actually very complicated. I'm not going to go too much into it. Just know that there's actually a way to synthesize proteins in the lab. But because proteins are long chain molecules, we thought proteins would just fold up into a mass, right? When you have your headphone wires, your earphone wires, they will just jumble up into a mass. But however, in nature, proteins, they don't jumble up. They tend to fold into the same shape very consistently every time. So the proteins that have the same amino acid group, they fold up in the same shape every time. They don't make random shapes. So that means there's actually a rule, the rule that governs how the protein folds, such that they always fold the same thing. They are always consistent and they're always the same. However, it's for us as human, right? We just can't figure out how, like what are the rules and steps that happens when the protein folds up in nature. So that's why AI is used in protein folding predictions. We want to figure out what shape the protein would take when we when we synthesize a particular piece of protein. So recently, there's a model that managed to predict the shape of protein with relatively high accuracy, which is AlphaFold, and the newest one, AlphaFold 2. So it combines deep learning with many other novel techniques, so to get it to work. So it's not just deep learning, it's a combination of a different approach and techniques working together. So even though AlphaFold is like a breakthrough, right, there are still many things that it cannot solve. So for now, right, it can only predict the shape of one protein molecule. So this is like one single protein. But there are, in medicine, usually proteins, they interact with one another. So we still don't know how the interaction would look like when there's multiple different proteins interacting with each other. And proteins, they are flexible as well. So the flexible nature of proteins, the shape morphing, when different proteins interact, they are still not solved yet. So there's still a lot of room to explore in the protein folding spaces. So this could be a potential area of interest for Malaysia and for other countries as well to research on this topic. All right, so this is one state-of-the-art, rather recent algorithm. So yeah, just a quick brief one. So some of the state-of-the-art computer vision algorithms, right? So now there are so many of them. So I just briefly go through some of them. Like for example, this one, right? They have become so efficient. You can detect hundreds of objects within an image. So there's bounding boxes surrounding things. They can do this in real time now. And you can even classify image at a pixel level. So essentially the model can tell which pixel, like which individual pixel is a human, which pixel is the road, and which pixel is the tree, is the sky. So yeah, that's one use case, one type of model. And there's even another one that it can, it can perform a human pose estimation. So essentially, the model can generate 3D human skeletal point. So you can see the skeletal just using the input image. So from an input image, it can generate the shape, the size, the body, the position of the body. All right. So these are the some of the state-of-the-art models. Let's move on. Right. So now I'll be talking about the future outlook in Malaysia, like what's going to happen next in Malaysia. So just some statistics. This is about the economic impact on the GDP of a country. So for Malaysia, it's forecasted that by the end of 2030, the AI industry will make up about 14% of the entire GDP of Malaysia, which is probably around $115 billion. For the entire Southeast Asia region as a whole, it's forecasted by 2030, it could be around $1 trillion US dollar in terms of like the AI, the industry. So so as a breakdown of where those contributions come from, it could be around 6 to 8% from marketing and sales, boosted by AI, supply chain, right? 2 to 3% from supply chains that have been optimized by AI. So yeah, some of the numbers here. So in terms of where Malaysia is positioned within Southeast Asia region, right? We're actually behind Singapore and above Vietnam. So it's in the second place for now. So essentially, Malaysia is, we are moving quite fast in terms of AI adoption in Southeast Asia. And in Malaysia, most of the AI adoption takes place in high-tech industry and like the telecommunication, in media and entertainment, financial services, in the retail services, and the healthcare services. All right, so that's the outlook in Malaysia. So, and of course, right, there's challenges as well. So one of the challenges into AI adoption in Malaysia is generally speaking, the challenges that AI adoption in Malaysia we face is like there's quite a large percentage of people who still lack the awareness of AI. And because of that, right, many businesses, they fail to discover opportunities where AI could be of use. And of course, not everything need to be solved using AI, but if there's more awareness, I think there will be more opportunities to be discovered when people spend enough time thinking about it. And besides that, we also have a lack of data engineering architecture in many smaller businesses as well, because not all businesses have robust data engineering servers and architectures to support the deployment of AI, because you do need sensors, like models, like to manipulate the physical products if you're in the manufacturing side. Yeah. So yeah, and we also have like a lack of some senior AI experts and managers who have sufficient experience in helping companies set up their data engineering pipelines or see business opportunities using AI. So yeah, there's still a lot of opportunity in Malaysia. There's a lot of roles waiting to be filled up. So yeah, there's a huge gap that we need to prepare more talents to fill this gap in Malaysia AI adoption. So yeah, so these are the kind of potential AI roles that exist in Malaysia and in Skymind as well. So Malaysia still lack a lot of AI talents. So so in Skymind, we collaborate with SHRDC, right, to help build awareness of AI in Malaysia, and as well as nurturing new talents in Malaysia. And of course, Skymind is a global company. We have offices in US, in UK, in China, in Japan, and we are always open for anyone who have potential with AI and who is interested in AI. So yeah, so if you have any questions or inquiries, feel free to reach us from this channel. We have our email, our website, and some of our social media platforms. All right, so I guess I'll end my session with just a video in the next slide. So thank you, guys. I believe there's a poll. Yeah, you can fill that out.
AI is all around us and touching many aspects of business and everyday life. But despite all the hype, practitioners believe that AI will always require human input and expertise. Do you know the number of job postings related to AI has increased by 100% over the past couple of years? In fact, the top 5 emerging jobs in 2020 are dominated by AI. AI is projected to become the mainstream of work across industries by 2025. But have you ever wondered, who are the brains behind the machine? Behind the comfort of this smart TV, a data scientist programmed the analysis of your favorite shows, so you'll always know what to watch. Behind this autonomous car, a deep learning engineer programmed the algorithms to keep you safe on the road. Behind this CCTV, a data annotator marked out all the danger for you, so you can focus on doing what you love most. Behind the efficiency of this production line, a robotic automation engineer automated the robots to keep the production going, so you know it is always working at its full potential. Artificial intelligence is more human than you think. By integrating human talents and AI-driven functions, we can reap the benefits of AI and boost productivity and efficiency. Join Skymind and be a part of the changing future.
Okay, so my session is finished. So I'll pass the floor back to you, Melissa.
All right, thank you very much, David. So I have just launched or projected a poll from Skymind. So to all attendees, please answer the poll question. It's just 2 questions. All right. Maybe we can check the real-time answer or response. All right, so keep the answers coming and keep the responses coming, guys, from the floor.
Excuse me.
Sorry, yes.
I would like to ask, why is the answer option only? It doesn't contain like a larger portion of the, let's say, because it only considered not at all, not very much, neutral, and a little bit.
Sorry, Shazrin or David, maybe you guys want to unmute your mic and respond to Henry, who is asking.
Hi, Henry. Okay, you can read this. This is a rating question, so it is based on your understanding for the question.
Because I prefer to pick something that is more than current option. So, yeah, and it's not there.
Sorry again, I didn't get you.
I mean, I would like to pick, because the question asks, how much will AI change our industry in the next 3 years? And I intend to pick more than what we think. Yeah, the impact might be more than the options that available over here.
I see, because I think you can rate the most maximum one.
Okay, sure. All right, thank you.
All right.
Okay, thank you for answering Henry's queries and Shazrin. Okay. Okay, so I will end the poll now. So maybe I will just launch the result. All right, so David or Shazrin, maybe you guys want to address the poll, the response for the question number 1 and number 2 What do you say? What do you have to say about this?
Okay, I wasn't expecting that I need to respond to it.
No worries. It's just it's okay then. I will just share the results afterwards to you guys. Okay. So okay. Thank you very much, David, for your sharing. It's very data driven, I believe, and we will now move forward with our second guest speaker from ViTrox, Gary Leong. He is the Director of Industry 4.0 and Ecosystem Development from ViTrox. So he will be discussing or sharing on embarking the predictive journey with AI machine learning. So here's a speaker profile of Gary. So he is passionate in assisting or transforming Malaysia's manufacturing sector into Industry 4.0 ready and to be competitive in the worldwide stage. So he is very passionate in Industry 4.0 development, all right, in ViTrox, and he is tasked to expand and share V1 and in-house developed I4.0 manufacturing intelligence software in the manufacturing sector. Okay, so he is a graduate in UK, and Mr. Gary has 20 plus years or 2 decades of working experience in international sales and marketing, product development, product marketing, and team development. And Gary's key mantra will be, in the era of Industry 4.0, digital transformation journey can begin with you. All right, so Gary, I hope you are ready for your session. So the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Marisa. Thank you for your kind introduction. Let me just do my screen sharing. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yep, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and fellow attendees to this webinar organized by SHRDC, and also thank you for the organizers for kindly inviting me. My name is Gary. I'm from ViTrox Technologies in Penang. We are a local company based out of Penang. Of course, we provide our solutions to the global. So this is a picture of our company in Batu Kawan in Malaysia. So let me just do some introduction and I'll share with you more. So today's topic I'm going to share about is embarking the predictive journey with AI machine learning. So I'm going to share more what is machine learning a little bit, and then what we're going to use for, especially in ViTrox, and also how we're going to help some of it, our customers and also our suppliers, in terms of making their machines smarter. Okay, so as I mentioned, we are in Penang. This is our Campus 2.0, and we have a new purpose in 2021 to contribute to the advancement of society and well-being of humankind through compassionate innovation. And of course, we aspire, and our vision is to be the world's most trusted technology company. Okay, in terms of some financial background and contributors, we are about 800 plus, almost close to 900 people worldwide. Most of them are actually in Penang, Malaysia. And then we are a public listed company in Bursa, Malaysia. And through our journey, actually, we started about 20 years ago. Last year was 20th anniversary. So we are short 21 years. We are now in Campus 2.0, and we just had our groundbreaking for Campus 3, which is beside us. So the journey is so exciting. The journey is accelerating, and of course, it's promising as well. So what we do is that we are in the mostly 91% are in the electronics field, whereby we build our machines with a lot of vision modules, automation, and then in the sector of semiconductor, of course, as well in the electronics assembly, that's where most of my career was in. And then we also venture into machines for the automotive inspection. Pharmaceutical precision farming is our latest adventure, and also in PV. All these are in automation as well, vision inspection. So you can go to our website, vitrox.com, to find out more what we do with our own brand, and of course, of sales and services throughout worldwide. A little bit about me. Okay, I love a lot of things. I'm I love to read, and then I love to do sports, especially like rock climbing. And then with COVID hit Malaysia 2 years ago, we can't go anywhere. Now traveling is one of the top agenda to travel and to speak in front of the stage again. But I'm of course excited to do more in a webinar because it's so easy, and then to reach out to the public and also to the vast is easier, right? But what I'm not, I'd like to share with you that I'm not an AI engineer. I am also not a programmer. Okay, so if you ask, oh, if I'm not a programmer, not an AI engineer, why am I talking about AI over here? So let me just go into that. So the whole agenda I'm going to share with you about close to about 40 minutes is about all this. So I'm going to share a little bit about what is before AI, and then our journey from predictive to preventive to predictive, and then from predictive to prescriptive. So that's the next level of where we are going to. And of course, last but not least, we're going to talk about the lessons we have learned, that so that with you, and if you are embarking together with us, that you can use some of these cases, and so that you don't have to fall into some of the traps that is happening while embarking on AI. Okay, and of course, for sure, if you have any questions and answers, please feel free to put in the chat box. And then if you like or don't like it, put some of the emojis at the Zoom. So that's a fun thing of Zoom over here. So what's the digital smart factory journey in ViTrox? Okay, so in most of the companies, there's always one first step: connect to collect the data. So that is always the first step, because if you have a machine, you have a process, you need to get the data connected. You need to get the machines connected so you can collect the data. So you can put in IoT, you can use different protocols to connect to it so that you collect the data either through a Fox server or you can direct it to the cloud. And after that, you can visualize it in different patterns, different charts, different dashboards, whether it's a facets, whether it's a pie chart, whether it's a spider web, and so many radial charts, and so many other charts that is best represent your data. Because very much important is that you're able to visualize your data and find the insightful towards your data. And the next is that you can go to AI, you can go to machine learning. And from there, you find out what is the analytics for getting the insights towards the areas of your visualizations, and find a business process stream, especially with AI. Next, after that is where the digital twin comes in. You can infuse it with cognitive. And one areas that you can also come into it is the new business model. I'll come into that later on. Okay, so just a quick one. I think I'm not going to go deep. Machine learning is part of a subset of AI, and deep learning is part of a subset of machine learning. So all these are available information on YouTube, on internet, where just now my co-speaker, Mr. David Ooi, he talks more on the deep learning. Okay, and today I'll go slightly bigger on terms of the machine learning itself. Okay, so where can AI dealt with as well as help in terms of the manufacturing? There are of course there are more, but I'm just putting into 5 key areas in terms of how AI in terms of manufacturing. First, you can detect defects through the production process, especially in terms of using optical inspection or automated visual inspection, where unstructured data such as images, and then you can use that to do best use deep learning for that. And then on the second one, you deploy preventive or even predictive maintenance to reduce downtime and improve processes. So these are a lot of structured data, and you can use that to predict and even prevent some of the areas to reduce the downtime, especially breakdown of parts, especially of critical parts as well. So this is where I'm going to focus as well deeper. Other areas like in terms of response to changes, it could be supply chain, GIT that involves connectivity to MES, advanced production planning, and so on and so forth. Others connecting to robots, and the last but not least will be the next level towards Industry 4, could be Industry 5, or some call it the lot size 1. So there will be a lot of areas of reducing costs, single run goods, and enable better customization. So this is where many areas that that will expand beyond the AI side. Okay, so how do we take AI in ViTrox so that we can expand across many business units and also many of our engineers able to use it? Okay, one, you can choose a programmer way whereby hire a programmer, write the Python codes, and then you can do all your analysis. This is very good because this will enable a lot of customization. However, in V1, we enable what we have done on the programming side, and we provide it into a less coding method. We put it in the workflow. So I'll show you how we do that in the short while, so that this enable people like me without a programming background able to do some AI machine learning. Okay, so what we did is that we combined 15 different algorithms, 8 in the supervised classification algorithms, 6 in the regression algorithms, and 1 in the unsupervised clustering algorithm. So all these are being done in the library so that the users can just click and choose and then find out which algorithm works best for them. Okay, let me just share with you how I will do it in terms of the a slide demo so that you can understand. Can you still see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I log into. Okay, so I will. Okay, I will create a plan. So let's say, for example, I put SHRDC. I do a classification training, a template for classifying training. Okay, so in this template, the whole process of the training a model is now enabled. So so it's easier for me. I don't have to write all in sequence. I click the design. Then over here, there is input, there's process, machine learning models, and also the action. So the first step, I will just put in the data source. For example, if I create one data source already, and then I click on the data source. Okay, so this is one of the data source which includes 1,000 overlines, 1,600 overlines. Okay, and then okay, just to ensure that everything is done. Yep, I include everything. Okay, then after that, I just double check. Okay, if there's any replace missing or not 0 to 0. Just double check. Okay, I think these are strings are okay without doing anything. So I can do a split data. Let's say, for example, if I put 70% or 30%, 70% as a training, 30% as validation to check what is the accuracy from that. Then training, okay. So because here is a structured data, I'll remove deep learning because otherwise it'll take a lot of time. And then what are input variables? I move everything in my X bar into the input variables. And then after that, I take a solution as my output. Okay, a solution as output. So I can see over here, so for example, certain things that I do not need, I just remove it. And then maybe here I don't remove it. And also there are also other things I can remove it so that it makes it better in terms of okay, living area as well. I don't need that. Okay, then click. Then okay, training done. Then I run the model. as the model is running, so you're able to tell that, okay, this is pass, there's a green here. If it's an error, it will be an X with a red color. Then it runs, now it's on the training side. So it's run about seven different algorithms all at the same time to find out what is the best. Okay, so right now it's done. Okay, now I will check. Okay, so in terms of the training side, I can see that it was 100% in terms of the decision tree and also the random forest. Runtime means the time to compute in terms of seconds. This is 2 seconds. I think these are okay. So between the decision tree and random forest is the highest accuracy. If I go to performance, see that decision tree is only at 60% and the random forest is 68%. It's not very good, but it's okay. You know, we can run better. Okay, and this is the runtime. If there are certain areas that requires runtime to be very much lower, then this becomes a very important areas. Then if let's say this is not good enough, I can do a split the data even higher. Let's say 85%. Okay, and then I can run again. Okay, so it's done. So I double check in terms of the validation model. Now it's higher. Just now was below 70. Now it's slightly higher in terms of 72. Another one is 66. Round time wise, okay, this takes slightly longer, about 16 milliseconds, and this is decision tree. So you can actually, if the time is okay, you can choose a random forest over here. Then after that, I save the model. Okay, I go back. Then let's say I click another inferencing, let's say SHRDC inference. Okay, I add, then the template comes out and I retrieve I click design, then I retrieve the model. This is the model. Just now I said test the training over here. Done. Okay, just double check. Yeah, this is the 7 algorithms I choose. And then after that, I can just run again. So I run again, then the data source, I click back the same data source that I choose. Or a different one if you have a different data source coming in that goes to training. And then after that, you run it, you go to this prediction. Okay, so just quick ones. That's it, 5 minutes. I can just show you a different model. Let me just go back here. So I can share with you how I just did, a 5 minutes demo on machine learning, using machine learning on total 7 different machine learning algorithms in under 5 minutes. So this is applicable to a lot of machine engineers, even in a factory which is not very well trained in terms of AI. So we want to make it useful. We want to make it easier for customers. So, okay, so on the next topic, I will talk about from preventive to predictive. Of course, if you have any questions and answers, please put in the chat box. Likes or don't likes, you can put in with the emojis. Okay, so we build the machines. This is one of the machines that we built over here, and then it's a vision inspection where the calibration is very important because you have to make sure that the things are accurate. So what we do is that we have this gray card, calibration card, that is fixed mounted onto the machine, and every now and then they need to automate the camera to sort of take the pictures of the gray card level and then to map out what is the gray scale. Okay, and then from there you will check and see other hardwares, whether it's or with adjustment, is it how many times is it overdue? All these are preventive maintenance. And if let's say certain things are over limit, then it will prompt us to, or the engineers to do maintenance. And of course, if there's no overdue, then it will not flag. So all these are in preventive maintenance. So these are very simple, easy way to make your machine smarter and inform the engineer what are the things that needs to do. So, okay, and then after that, another machine I'm sharing in terms of X-ray. So we put in different IoT sensors, like temperature sensors, fan sensors on the machine, of course, pressure, and also the digital power meters on it. So what we do is to monitor the two of the most expensive parts within the X-ray machine. So we don't have to do everything. So because we know that what are the areas, the spare parts or the parts itself that is most critical that will happen if we don't monitor it. Okay. For example, so we do a hardware monitoring as what I shared with you just now, and the areas of in the areas as the temperature near to the tube, and also the safety shield, and the temperature and also vibration and the pressure near to the tube, because the tube is one of the most expensive item within the whole machine. Why do I say that? This tube costs, at least price, 65,000 US dollars. So it's expensive as a BMW, maybe 3 Series, 5 Series, right? Okay, so you don't want this to happen. And then for us as well, we need to minimize our asset of putting the consignment of X-ray tubes so that we are able to keep our inventory low. So of course, one of the areas is that to change the hard copy maintenance record into digital maintenance record. For example, 6 months e-record, last calibration, how's the cathode level, number of hours that is X-ray is on, or even the number of hours the machine is on. Okay, so all these are part of puzzle process of digitalization and converting hard copy materials into not scan but into digital records. So these digital records will go into database. So one of the use cases that we are testing upon is that if the triggers from the X-ray tube, especially the temperatures and the spikes, all these things are okay, then it tells you that in terms of level of trigger logs and the last preventive maintenance predictive, even the preventive maintenance done. So it will be able to tell you what is the machine learning prediction, how many hours can still last for that particular tube. However, if the triggers from various sensors spikes up critical times, like for example, if a person keep on coughing many times, you know that this person has some symptoms is happening. So for machines, the same thing, that it will sort of cough, and then the machine learning will learn from that what is the prediction. Will it a lifetime sort of lower because of certain symptoms? Okay, and from that we monitor from the triggering that happens at that particular time, how many times it sort of cough, or temperature spike above, or the abnormal vibration, or even sound. And that triggers, it could be an email, and triggers the person to do some checking. And this is what we say the Amber Alert. And the whole aim is to convert an unplanned downtime to a planned downtime. Okay, so I've shared with you what we did is on the ViTrox machine. So if you ask me, how do we do on other machines? Because it's easier for us to do on our own machines, but we also embark on other machines to help out our suppliers, especially in the CNC metal fabrication market. Okay, so of course we have done many visualization and also connecting to the machines throughout our journey of this analytics intelligence solutions. But I'm going to share about more towards how do we do that in terms of AI and also the predictive area. So what we did in terms of the connect on this machine, this CNC machine is not a ViTrox product. Okay, so what we did is that first and foremost is that on the outer side, we can also connect to a legacy machine, for example, over here, to the signal tower light. And then from the signal tower light through a gateway, of course, sensors or even connect to it, we are able to get the information like run, stop, pause, standby, alarm, emergency, disconnect. All this information, when you collect it, you are able to know the machine utilization today, right? So simple as that. So then, if you want to do AI, so more areas needs to be done because you need to have to know the health of the system. So with that, we add on wired sensors on the external of the X motor or even Y motor or Z motor over there, external that wired into the gateway. So it collects data in terms of the temperature, in terms of the vibration, and sometimes sound as well. And others we have not done yet is to connect to the digital power meters to see the input of the power regulation. And another areas that we did on a slightly newer machine is to connect to the controller itself. Like for example, the Fanuc controller using the forecast protocol. And from there, much more information that we are able to get without we are able to get compared to from external sensors. So from there, we're able to get the servo motor, the overload, what is the RPM on the spindle, the feed rate, how fast is it, and also the feed rate override. What are the tools that's being used on the machine? How frequent is it? And also the coordination, and also as well as the program with it. Apart from that, if let's say you embark on a journey of AI, that's what we are doing. We also add on wireless sensors that we put inside the machine, and then so that we want to do, our mission is to predict when will the tools be broken while machining. This is what we want to prevent. We want to prevent from the tools being broken so that we are able to prevent things like a tool broken inside a part or even abnormal machining of the parts, right? Or of the item. So this is what we did, the experiment. So from there, first and foremost, we go back to the drawing board, understand with the subject matter experts in terms of the CNC machining tool immature breakdown. What are the causes, the 6 causes that can happen to this tool breakdown? You know, okay, this time I'm not going to deal deeper. And with that as well, you also need to have the digital maintenance, whereby if the tool breaks, at which number breaks, why is it break? So the person will take a phone, snapshot, put the tool ID, the issue, when is it occurred, of course, and a picture of tool. All this goes back to the database because then you are collecting the data. Why is it broken, right? Then from the controller itself, you also run what is the current tool that's running, how much time it's running, and the next level we are doing right now is that how far is it running. So the predictive result that we are achieving is that if all the tools are green, it means that all the tools are okay. However, if one of the tools shows a red or amber, we will need to alert the on-site technician or engineer to stop or check the tool so that things can to prevent things from broken inside. For example, if let's say the triggering trends are a lot higher in terms of sound or even vibration, and this shows that it's an amber alert. So it tells you that please check tool ID number 7 because abnormality trend detected. It's all about the trend. And then if it's a red, it tells you about the tool ID 13, tool failure predicted. Of course, we are still defining a lot inside the algorithms as well, make it easier to predict tools at the when is it failure within a day or even within hours. So this takes a lot more deep data to do, a lot more experiments, a lot more failure. However, we don't say failure, however, areas we know that doesn't work, right? So all this requires a lot of experiment as well, or even POC. Other than that, we also put in, like for example, unsupervised learning to have an IP camera so that you can know what is happening on the machine. Other than that, we are also optional to do is to put in the IR camera, especially if you are talking about parts, huge parts. It could be automotive or it could be aerospace, that thermal expansion is very important. So depending on the parts, so this becomes an optional. So what I shared just now is preventive to predictive, especially taking into machines and what are the areas that you can use it and a use model that for your application. Next, I'm going to talk about predictive to prescriptive. So this is the one of the next level that we are embarking upon, but we will need, of course, all the previous information that, especially on data collection. Okay. So I shared about PROACT over here in terms of AI, in terms of machine learning, going towards analytics and also the digitalization. So while we go towards the journey of digital twin, this is the area whereby disruptive model will come in. So if you're able to come up with some of the models, you can sort of convert your current business model into disruptive business model compared to your competitors. And this is where the next advance will come in. Okay, so what we are doing over here is that there's a lot of areas combining towards digital twin. First, you must have of course, the data for cloud storage, IoT, edge, and AI. Then you're able to go towards that. Very important, the data model, the connecting, getting the data, analytics from the AI, and of course, the last but not least, the human knowledge. The knowledge from the experts, the knowledge from the subject matter experts is so important moving towards that. Okay, so what we are doing is that because ViTrox is in the providing the machines mainly for the electronics industry, we are coming towards a process inside, because process is very important, and towards describing what are the quality. From there, we have to do areas of combining different inspections within the line so that it can give a prescriptive model. What are the things that needs to change in the front of the line, so that we're able to do prediction and changing certain parameters so that the outcome, especially the yield, can go up. So this is where we are going towards, and it needs a lot of experiment. That's why because ViTrox, we also purchased one SMT line to do a lot of this experiment, as well as to do data collection as well. So coming soon in 2023, however, in order to do that, these are so many things that we need to do so that to make sure that a lot of data can be collected, connected, and then make sense. It's more important. Okay, so last but not least, in the last 5 minutes, I'll share with you the lessons learned, and of course still learning, and then a little bit more on the partnership with SHRDC. If you have any questions, please put it on the chat box. Okay, I'm going to share about 3 points. First, each step has its difficulty level, but KISS. What is that? So every step, as I shared with you, the connect, visualize, even proact, has its difficulty. Some companies, we help them to do connection, finding the right sensors, finding the right process, finding the right tools, the right protocol to connect and collect the data. It is also difficult. And then when it comes to visualization, okay, what is the best charts? What's the best combination of charts that makes sense towards the engineer, the technician, the manager, or the boss? So different people will want different things. And then, of course, if it comes to AI, which machine learning model is the best? Is it accurate enough? Is it fast enough? Is it a combination of different algorithms? So all these things require efforts. And sometimes if we go to proact, like what we did, we found out that the information are not enough. So we have to go back to the connect, get more sensors, different types of sensors, connect to it to collect more data, make sense of it, then go back to AI again and run again. So all this back and forth will happen. But most important is keep it simple, keep it short and simple. Because if there are things that can be done, especially in preventive maintenance, then that's the best. You don't have to go to predictive just because the marketing wants it or for the glory of it. But if you're able to get it, keep it simple, make it short, and if you're able to go towards preventive and then solve most of the problem, that will also suffice. Okay. If cannot, then of course you go to the next one. Then the second lessons, collaboration from at least AI programmer, IoT engineer, and subject matter experts. In these 2 years of COVID, whereby we use so much of Zoom, so much of Google Meet, our meeting calendar is like all back to back. Sometimes some of us even like have to attend 2 Zoom at the same time, or 1 Google Meet and 1 Zoom. That's what I did. So in the past, we had to go to the customer, understand the customer's problem, then go back to the engineer, and then figure out, and then discuss, and go back again, back and forth traveling. So a lot of times it's taken a long time. But with this teleconference, it is now easier whereby AI programmer, IoT engineer, and subject matter experts sit together in a conference room, in a webinar or in a Zoom meeting to discuss a lot of issues. Not many companies would have an AI programmer because AI programmer is expensive and it's not easy to keep. However, what we did over here is to make it an IoT engineer and even a subject matter expert like me are able to use simple machine learning. So that is what we are aspiring to be, and that's what we are wanting to make it simple, so that a 45-year-old blue-collar worker or a TVET graduate is able to use machine learning. And from there, of course, if he is able to expand further and then move into deep learning and many other customized program if he has the interest. So getting the results and getting the subject creates the interest towards moving towards AI. Last but not least, be daring to make mistakes, but learn. Because in this journey, we make a lot of mistakes. We buy certain things that we thought that it gets data. However, data just doesn't come in. It doesn't make sense. And then certain things that doesn't make sense, we try an error, and we come, voila, things work. Because then we celebrate even small wins. And then important, go back to the drawing board, recalibrate with the subject matter expert, because sometimes an AI programmer will want to do a lot of very, very difficult things. However, the subject matter expert sometimes will ask, like, for example, I will ask a question, does this make sense? Will it become too expensive? Will the engineer or the technicians or the user of this machine find it too difficult? Because sometimes the engineer or the user just wanted something simple. Okay. Last but not least, of course, ViTrox and SHRDC is always in partnership, and we started a journey and this year, middle of this year, whereby we have collaborate using their one of the connect programs in Node-RED to connecting to PLCs, connecting to machines, and then from there we able to share out and learn together. And this is one of the areas of upskilling our TVETs and also upskilling our staff and also our people, right? I also learn it over here as well on Node-RED. And of course, we will provide the certificate of participation after you finish your course. Okay, and just a little bit of advertisement. Next week, we will have a virtual instructor for beginners class for V1. So our IoT engineer and also AI trainer will also provide a crash course. So you can register on this QR code or this link over here, webinar.speaker.-October-2021. Take a picture, take a snapshot, and you can register for free. Okay, you can learn over there, and you can also ask your staff to learn as well. But because, for example, me as a non-programmer, I can do a simple workflow, simple machine learning. I'm sure you or even your staff can do that, right? Last and not least, we are always with you. We're in Penang, even with the Zoom, even if you, let's say, overseas, is so short right now. I mean, it's just only one call away, right? And we have put in so much effort, almost 5 years, 6 years of effort of R&D within for our products program, and we will assist you in your journey towards Industry 4.0. Last but not least, in the era of Industry 4.0, digital transformation, of course, can begin with you. So if you want to go to, you go to this our website. We have a lot of webinars that we have done before. You can continue to learn from there. Of course, give us a comment. And if you want some testimonies, some sharing, go to YouTube, click in, type in ViTrox space V1, and then there's a lot of testimonies as well as some sharings that we put on YouTube. With that, I can be contacted on my contacts below, or even make an appointment, virtual appointment with me on this, and then we can help you in your understanding your manufacturing issues. Okay, if there's last but not least, any questions, so you can put in the chat box. And that's all for my presentation today. Thank you very much and it's my honor.
Thank you very much, Gary Leong. That was very data-driven, very fun. You have wonderful slides. Thank you very much for presenting and sharing with the audience today. All right, so like Gary mentioned, if you guys have any questions, please drop them in the chat box and we will address them towards the end of our presentation later, during the Q&A later. All right, so now that is all from both of our guest speakers. All right, moving on to our next agenda. We will have Dr. Chua Wen-Shyan, the head of Malaysian Smart Factory 4.0, or on behalf of SHRDC or Selangor Human Resource Development Center, on board with us today. All right, so he will give out a few comments regarding today and what SHRDC or MSF is doing in general. All right, so Dr. Chua, if you are ready, you can turn on your video.
Yep. Hi, thank you very much, Marisa. A very good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. It is really, really good to have you all in this session. I would like to say a very big thanks to our two guest speakers for today, David from Skymind and also Gary from ViTrox. They are both our technology partners at the Malaysian Smart Factory 4.0. And we are greatly honored to have them to share with you all today with regards to the sustainable AI transformation for industries. And at SHRDC, we are definitely looking forward to supporting the industries and community towards the growth and adoption of AI within the nation and beyond, right? And we hope to continue to actually run more of these programs, right? The Pi and AI events to actually generate more, insights and awareness on AI adoption, especially in Malaysia, right? And we want to share with everybody, all these great opportunities and knowledge. And at Selangor Human Resource Development Center, under the Malaysian Smart Factory 4.0 initiatives, we actually launched our AI programs already, right? This is actually to develop AI talents within the nation and in collaboration with our partners, right? To support, industry growth and talent growth within the nation, right? And we are definitely open to more industry collaborations. And we hope that this will actually spearhead a very, very good, high value skilled workforce within Malaysia, right? Bringing together a more vibrant AI community, right, in Malaysia, and, putting all our industries to be able to actually share, right, great technologies that Malaysia have in general with these talents, right? And with that, I would like to also welcome everybody who is present here today, right? Marisa will share with you some links later on what we do at SHRDC, how to contact us, and of course, we do have virtual tours at our YouTube channel. If you're in Malaysia, do drop by, come and meet us personally. I think we are starting to open up our doors soon for visitors, right? And of course, we invite any one of you, overseas, if you're able to travel to Malaysia, come and meet us at the Malaysian Smart Factory. And of course, our partners, Gary and David, will also be very happy to see you here, right? So with that, thank you very much, everyone, for joining in our first Pi and AI event hosted in collaboration with DeepLearning.AI, Skymind, and also ViTrox, right? And we hope that this session will be beneficial for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chua. And I believe everyone can see the poll question that I have just launched. This is a poll question from Gary's side of ViTrox. So can everybody please participate and answer and give us your response? I actually forgot to project this earlier. Yep. So Gary, maybe you can see the real-time answers here or responses from the crowd. All right, that's great. Thank you, guys. Please keep the response coming. Maybe if you want to have a comment or what do you think about the responses so far, Gary? We have a variety of answers or responses from the crowd.
Okay, so I think so far 15 responses. So waiting. Otherwise, the data sets are too small to make a conclusion. Anyway, yeah, it's good to know that it's always. I saw some which is within already using, some are 6 months, some are within the 3 years. Yeah, these are small steps. So begin with the small steps. Then you go somewhere. Yeah.
All right, then keep the responses coming, guys. And while the poll is still up, so let's go for a Q&A session with everyone. So do we have any questions from the floor? We welcome any kind of questions or queries, concerns, or anything at all regarding the topics that our guest speakers have shared with you guys. So you guys can, if some of you may be a little bit shy to drop your question, you can use the Q&A you can opt for the Q&A and ask anonymously. Yeah, we welcome any kind of questions from the floor. Okay, Gary, I believe this anonymous question is from you. Just hang on a second. Let me read it. Okay, someone is asking if SMEs were contemplating on whether to adopt AI or not to realize the cost savings, what would be your advice for them? Maybe Gary, you can answer that.
Where do I see the question?
Let me just repeat the question here. If SMEs were contemplating on whether to adopt AI, so to realize the cost savings, what would be your advice for them?
I would say that the first and foremost is that before you even adopt the AI, start to do the connectivity first, digitalization first. So digitalize the connectivity to your certain process or your machine or something that is critical. Then from there, you move whether you want to use AI or not AI. That will be the next step, right? So as I said, the 4 steps starts with connect, visualize, proact, which is AI, and then digital twin. You start with connect first. Then you see whether areas you are doing, whether it makes improvements. Because from connecting, you're able to see the data and visualize it using humans to see the insights and see areas where in the past you may not able to see, okay, because that data will collect a lot of information. Then you journey whether which AI makes sense to improve certain things. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Gary. Okay, so the next question from another anonymous. So this person is asking, okay, training of the personnel is often cited as one of the steps to start the AI industry. So which group of people should we start with? Is it management, engineers, or technicians? Like, how do you identify this group of people?
Okay, so training is important because training it can start from school and of course starts from reskilling or even upskilling. And for me, for example, continuous learning is important. So today in the post-COVID era, you can go to Coursera, you can go to Open Learning, you can go to Moodle. There's so many platforms that with only a small subscription fee, you're able to learn many of the applications in terms of digitalization, in terms of AI. So these are the things that having an adoption of continuous learning in your company or culture It's one of the best areas I would say I'm proud of in ViTrox, whereby the education doesn't stop in schools. So yes, and then providing the lessons learned, the lessons that your employees are able to do that from various types of media on self-learning. That is one of the best things that actually SMEs can adopt. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Gary. So we have a question from Joseph. He is asking, is SCADA's, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but he is asking, is SCADA's system some sort of AI or is it totally different?
Okay, yeah, SCADA is actually it's a 30-year-old data acquisition software that collects the data, especially from machines or even processors. So that is where SCADA is being used in terms of the connect part. Okay, so the connect part. SCADA do not have the analysis yet. Maybe they have it in the new versions, but SCADA is important, especially in collecting the data. It's not on the AI yet.
All right, thank you very much, Joseph, for your question, and thank you, Gary, for responding. Okay, so maybe David can take this question from another anonymous. Just a second. David, are you still here? I hope you still are.
Yeah. Still.
Okay, all right. So someone is asking, what is the job scope of AI engineers? Since you are the AI engineer, yeah, maybe you can take this answer.
Okay, so as an AI engineer, right, usually you'll have to understand some of the, so as an engineer, you have to understand like the connect part, right? Like you have to understand like the architecture, like the servers, where do you send your data to, right? Where do you collect your data? So usually AI engineers, they deal with the architectures, like the servers, the networking, the sensors, right? Usually the physical stuff as an AI engineer. But it depends on what you refer to, because there are AI engineers that focuses on the algorithm, and there are some of them that focuses on the architecture part. So yeah, maybe you want to be a little bit more specific, like.
Let's see. All right, thank you, David. Maybe you can take this another question also. Someone is asking, what industries are incorporating deep learning technology? Since you were speaking on deep learning earlier on. Do you want me to repeat the question?
All right. So deep learning technologies, right? So is there any specific deep learning? So because deep learning is like it's a very big field. There are natural language processing, there's computer vision processing, right? For example, right, like self-driving cars, they are doing computer vision. So if you're doing deep learning in those sectors, you will be using computer vision for self-driving cars. So in like semiconductor industry, like I mentioned before, so you have to check for whether the chips, like the computer chips, whether they are compatible or not. So those cases you could use deep learning as well, but usually people will use machine learning, a combination of both, because you don't just focus on one algorithm. Yeah, you usually pick which one works. So it'll depend, right? For example, in retails, it depends on what type of like a job, what kind of task that you have. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, David. And okay, I think this is for Gary. It's from Joseph yet again. So Joseph is asking how to upgrade to AI.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Joseph, for the question. So just now we talk about SCADA, right? So SCADA is about data acquisition. One of the methods to do data acquisition. There are so many available out there. Okay. So once you get the data, you have to deposit the data to certain method. one of the best way is actually into a database. There's of course paid database and also of course also open source database. So you put it into a database in a structured manner. Then you use AI. That's for example, we use workflow with machine learning for V1 to get the data, connect to the data, and then run the algorithm. Okay, or you can use depending on what kind of data you have. Let's say you're talking about is a structured data with machines, breakdown, and all these sensors that are coming in. Then you can use even like Python to write in the scripts. That will be from a programmer to write in all the scripts that's needed, and then to run that data from the database. So a few methods can be done. So it could be from a programmer method or from the less coding using workflow in machine learning.
Okay, thank you very much, Gary, for responding to Joseph's questions. I hope he had answered your queries or your question clearly. Okay, and so I believe we are nearing the end of our session already. So that will be all for our Q&A. And thank you for your questions, everyone. So Gary, I have already stopped the poll, ended the poll. So these are the results. We have around 79% participants participated. So do you have any comments on these on the results? Mm-hmm. Sorry, I will share the results. Yeah. Are you seeing the result? Gary, do you have anything that you want to add on to the responses?
No, I think it's fine. Yeah, maybe can just once you have the database or this, you can just share with me later on.
All right, then. Thank you, Gary. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone, for joining in or for tuning in today. I hope you guys learned a lot, or since it's been a very data-driven sharing from both ViTrox and Skymind. So thank you very much, Skymind and ViTrox, for joining us today. All right, so I have already projected a feedback. So can everyone please give us your response, so our guest speakers can also see whether or not this has been a very interactive or effective session. Thank you very much for your response. Yep, keep them coming in. So while everyone is still answering the feedback poll, do get in touch with SHRDC. This is all our available socials. Just type in SHRDC, which is it stands for Selangor Human Resource Development Center once again. And we also have a general WhatsApp in case any of you want to get in touch with us. All right. So I believe this is all from me and also from SHRDC. So thank you very much once again, Gary and David. So any last words from you, Dr. Chua, on behalf of MSF and SHRDC to the attendees and also our guest speakers for today?
Okay, thank you, Marissa. From me, I think, thank you very much, everyone, for joining once again, right? We hope to have you to join in more of our sessions in the future. And I hope this webinar gives you some great insights and also show you what are the possibilities of adopting AI, which is machine learning or deep learning in Malaysia, and how it could benefit your industry in overall, right? And for those who are who are community developers, or you are still in university, still studying, do continue to explore more on these technologies, right? And come and work with us at Selangor Human Resource Development Center. We are more than happy to support you on your learning journey as well, right? Together with our partners at Skymind and also ViTrox, right? Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you for your closing remarks, Dr. Chua. All right, so everyone, I will now end the session and stop the recording. So this session will be available on YouTube on our channel, and we will share the links once the video is ready. In case anyone wants to come back or go back to this video and have another look at this session, we will share it on our social media channel. So once again, thank you very much, Skymind and ViTrox, for joining us. Especially thank you, David and Gary, for the very insightful and fruitful session, I would say. Thank you, guys. Have a nice day, everyone. Take care, stay safe, and stay blessed. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
So how was it, everyone? Did you enjoy and learn something new today? We hope you find the webinar beneficial and informative. Thank you for sitting through until the end of the webinar session with us. If you like what you have experienced today and want to join in for more sessions, do not forget to like and follow our social media channels. Simply search SHRDC on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, as all of our programs are regularly updated there. We will include the links to these pages in the description box below. Feel free to connect with us today or visit our website at www.shdc.org.my. Thank you, and we hope to see you again.